All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy ShottyTheBeam, and today we're doing the Gravity podcast with Abigail Arkley. Met her from like another podcast I did with Godly the Ruler, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Abigail Arkley. I am based in Madison, Wisconsin. Currently going to school there for piano performance, actually. But I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I like to songwrite. I write poetry. I do a lot of like instrumentation around campus, stuff like that. I've been producing music probably for the last year and a half, I want to say. And I have a song out currently on Spotify in the works called Around You. So that's my first single that is out currently, and I have an EP on the way and another single coming in the next couple weeks. So
Sweet. Yeah, no, Around You was Hot Fire Flames. That shit was sweet. That shit was sick.
thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I was surprised. I didn't know. I was surprised to hear it. I don't know. I didn't really know what to expect, but I was like, oh, this sounds really good. And just for how many like Spotify listeners you had and stuff, I was like, oh, maybe it's like. But you released that song quite a bit ago, right?
Yeah, at the beginning of the school year, actually. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but that song, oh, that sounded like really well produced, it was clean as hell. That shit was nice. Yeah, that was a really good song. Also, I saw like the best part cover. That was you, right?
Yeah, that was me.
That shit was tight. That shit was tight. That was really cool. Who was doing the guitar? Was that like one of your friends or something?
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think. I think for that, I actually found a backing track because I was trying to get some stuff together to be able to do it live, but it was kind of like a last minute performance that I wanted to do, kind of like an open mic situation. So I was like, let me just hop on YouTube real quick and find
Bro,
something.
that shit was sick though. That shit was tight. That shit was really cool. But yeah. So tell me when did you like start making music? When did you start playing piano or whatever?
Oh my goodness. So I've been doing music for pretty much my whole life. I started piano when I was 5. Started taking lessons and really taking it seriously around 10. But I was always, as a kid, I was at the piano, I was making songs, I was like going outside to play with my friends, running in, playing the piano, going back outside. I don't know, music has just always been something that has really gripped me, something that has really spoken to me, resonated with me throughout my whole life. In middle school, I picked up the guitar, I started playing that as well, and that's when I really started songwriting and getting into other stuff because before that time, I was mostly doing like classical music, I was doing jazz, stuff like that. And I'd written poetry throughout my life. I loved creative writing. I loved writing short stories, but I hadn't really gotten into songwriting until end of middle school, I want to say. And then once high school hit and then college hit, I was just like hitting up a bunch of different open mics. I was jamming with my friends. I was helping my friends songwrite. And that really took off in college. I actually lived in a artistic learning community for my freshman year called The Studio. And that was the coolest experience, really opened my world up to like production, like all of my neighbors. Godly the Ruler was actually my neighbor freshman year.
Shit, that's
So
crazy.
that's how we met. And it was just such an inspiring experience to like see these kids who were so young. A lot of them were in like engineering degrees, like doing pre-med, stuff like that, but they had such a like passion and drive for music. So I got to really experience a lot of that, kind of help with that process, doing background vocals, doing piano, guitar, whatever was needed, and performing with them around campus. Super, super cool. And that's when it really hit me like, wait, I could totally do this too. Like, this is something I'm super passionate about. This is something that I love. Like, it's really bringing the community together. And just so many different people that I got to meet from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, playing different kinds of music completely. And just being introduced to that was really cool. So during the pandemic is really when I started taking that very seriously, and I was songwriting like crazy. There wasn't that much more to do except really just dive headfirst into music, because we were all inside. It was super difficult time in terms of like mental health, things like that. So there was a lot of opportunity to just kind of get those emotions out, get what I was experiencing out. And that's kind of where Around You was born, actually. I wrote that last year over quarantine, kind of more towards the end. Um, but that was just kind of a culmination of some experiences that I had had leading up to that time. And then over that summer, I started producing it. I did like the guitars, I did the instrumentation, the writing, stuff like that. And then I worked with a really good buddy of mine in Minneapolis, which is where I'm from originally. Yeah, he's a fantastic producer, my friend Anik. And so we really worked on that together because I was still figuring out like the mixing and mastering part of everything. Like I could put all the instrumentation together. I knew how to like sort out my guitars and my voice and things like that. But he's really the one who like made it super clean. And I was really, really happy with the product. So that's kind of been my journey so far. Kept
Wow.
at it, and I have a bunch of music on the back burner that I'm gonna be releasing. So
Yes, sir. That's exciting. No, that's really inspirational. Just coming from, cause I recently just started music too. Like I started during quarantine, cause I was like, let's pick up some hobbies or something, and then I ended up just really liking it, and I was like, wait, whoa, this is crazy. But yeah, no, that's really tight. So wait, when did you start singing? Have you also been like was singing going around, or like was it occurring as well around this, like when you were growing up, or?
yeah. I really didn't sing all that much. I mean, I was in like choirs and stuff like
Mm.
that in middle school and things. But kind of around the same time around high school, I really started working on my voice because I was starting to find my voice musically. You know, before then I was kind of just playing other people's compositions. I was really in that like instrumentation world, and I hadn't really explored that side of myself very much yet, like my own personal expression outside of the music that I was making already with the piano and things like that. So guitar and voice kind of came hand in hand for me. I definitely started off with John Mayer, and I was just learning all these John Mayer songs on the guitar, trying to get good. And at the same time, I was just really working on my sound and what I wanted to express. And so that's when I started singing. And in college, I was just singing like crazy. That kind of became my main thing. Um, yeah, and I love it. I sing all the time. Sometimes I sing too much.
There's never too much, never too much. I think that's good. It's always like I don't know. I've been trying to like learn how to like rap and sing, like just do everything, because I think you putting your fingerprint in everything is important. Like try to dabble, because obviously, wait, how many instruments do you play?
Okay, I play piano, guitar, I play bass. I also play the mandolin, weirdly.
Whoa,
That
what
up.
the hell? That's crazy. Really?
Love
Oh
it.
shit.
It has such a beautiful sound. I was like, I need to learn how to
Bro, you
play.
better make some music with that shit. Damn,
Right,
that's crazy.
right. I'm
Ooh,
starting to, so we'll
that's
see.
that's tight.
Yeah, I also do production. I play the ukulele. Yeah.
Did you ever have that like ukulele cover girl like phase
Oh,
when you
definitely.
like
12, 13. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm not gonna lie, like I definitely like would watch those and be like, damn, I wish I could do something like this, but
I
because
know, it was
that
such a wave.
I know everybody. I mean, I think people disrespect it, but I think that was like always like really pretty, like how they would just sing. I thought that shit was beautiful as hell. Um, well, what do you think to you using like your, or is Abigail Arkley like your actual name?
Yes, it is. I was thinking
So,
about a stage name for the longest time, and I was like,
okay.
I really like my name. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna stick with that.
Is there like any significance? Because I think that's something that's kind of, I don't know. I think that's kind of deep. The fact that you just use your first name or you're just your name.
Mm.
Period. Is there any like background to that, or just you just thought that sounded nice, so you're like cool with it?
Well, yeah, I did think that it sounded nice, but also like I've been performing and stuff before I released my own music, and that's always kind of what I went by. And I think for me too, like the music that I make is very personal. It's, my writing comes from like very deep places of experience and stuff like that. And like doing all the instrumentation myself and things like that too. I thought about doing a stage name, then I was like, no, I really want to have this be my name, um, because it kind of adds to that personal element of things that is my music, or what I hope gets across. So
Mm.
that's I went back and forth for a while, but that's what I landed on.
Do you do you remember any of the things that you're thinking about doing?
Oh my goodness. They were, to be honest, they were so lame that I I don't even remember them anymore. I was like, okay, these indie bands, what are they called? I didn't come up with anything near as good.
Hey, no, it's all good. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as that feels like it represents you well, then there's no complaining. I think that's good. Yeah, and I don't know. I think you were talking about your performing, and I also saw like the Beethoven sonata, the live performance.
Oh,
Like those shits, dude. I don't know. Like watching that shit like was entrancing. Just the way I don't know. I need to learn classical because that's like a different type of skill. I think like learning.
crazy. It's
I know.
crazy.
I
Lots of hours of work. Oh my goodness. But I mean, that's
100%.
everything,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah, does that do you feel like that like if you I guess that classical being like classically trained has that is that like important to your sound do you think or like would you be completely different without it?
Yeah, that's something I've thought about a lot over this year, actually, because a lot of that training that I have transfers for sure. Especially, I mean, that's why I kept at it originally, because, for school, I was at first looking at more of like contemporary music schools. I was looking in Tennessee, I was looking on the East Coast, because I was really at a point where I was like, okay, this is something that I'm good at, and I'm really, really passionate about music. But there were some things in terms of like, limiting self expression you can have within, I mean, this is just my own personal opinion, but within the classical music world was something I always really kind of struggled with. Um, and that's why I was so thankful to find the people that I found once I got to college, because I realized, like, oh, this stuff is actually really useful in terms of just like knowing a lot about like music theory, about how like harmonies go together, about how melodies go together. Things like that, it definitely transfers, and I think I'd have a much more difficult time. It's definitely in terms of instrumentation and being able to communicate with other people musically. It's I'm really thankful that I have that info and kind of that experience. But I think it's also transferred in terms of my like feeling comfortable in performing, feeling comfortable in expressing myself. That's something that I've done throughout my life, like meeting a lot of different people. Same thing, from different
Yeah.
backgrounds, from different interests, different instruments, and kind of coming together and being able to make something work and being able to communicate with each other, and then having music as kind of that base foundation of it all, which is always really powerful. So I found once I started getting into production and getting into songwriting, I was like, oh, this is something that I'm actually like familiar with. Like I've been doing this on a completely different playing field, but it's the same thing because music always connects. Music always brings people together, and kind of having that commonality was really cool for me to find. Like, oh, this isn't as much of like a niche as I thought. Being
Yeah.
growing up in classical music, it's like crazy, but yeah, I think it transfers a lot, and I think it developed a lot of who I am as a musician now. So I'm definitely thankful for that experience.
um I don't know. I think that's crazy. Well, just like the power that production has as well. Like you knowing piano puts you ahead of so many people, and like uh, literally these days you just all you need to know is how to play piano, and you can make full orchestras with like
It's
production,
yeah,
and
it's
it's like that. Yeah, and I don't know. I think just like that's that power we have nowadays. So it's like really just pushing with it.
cool.
Um, and so you were talking a lot about communication. I feel like that's a lot. That's a big like a running theme with your music. Uh, so like what is like your writing process like then on that kind of like front?
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of like what I touched on earlier. I started songwriting. It was actually born out of poetry writing. That's how I first started out. I've always like kept journals throughout my life, because it's a really important expression to me. And so I would write a lot of poetry about what I was going through or what I was feeling. Um, and then I would take those poems and I would kind of tweak them and change them and put them into more of like a song form. So that's really how my process first started. And that's why I think a lot of my writing is like very personal and very special to me because of that poetry aspect. You really have to dig deep into what you're saying and into your experience and into your emotions and figure out like, all right, what am I really trying to say here and how can I communicate this in a different way. It's bringing a lot of like abstractness, I guess, into the songwriting process, which I really enjoy though. So whenever I'm writing personally by myself, that's almost always what I do. I mean, my notes app is like, that is what I use. My notes app I go crazy.
Yes, sir.
And I'll just
I,
write. Oh, that's funny, man. I'll be
I don't
in
know.
my.
That's interesting. I don't know. Like, what do you think about, like, I don't know, with the Notes app? I know that's kind of funny that you mentioned that, but it's just like I try to avoid the Notes app for some reason, just because I feel like writing it just feels so much better to me.
Mhm.
I don't know if you agree with that, but it's because it's like I don't know. I think it's easier. It's definitely easier on the Notes app because your phone is like a nice little portable thing. But when it's on like a notebook, I don't know. I feel like I remember the lyrics better, and it's like I don't know. They just feel better. I don't know how to explain it, but I get that. No, yeah, no. I think that makes a lot of sense though. That's
Yeah.
tight. That's tight. That's cool. Um. So what do you think like or where else do you find like inspiration with writing in like weird things or weird spots, or do you try to find it out of like emotion or just energy?
Yeah, really, that's a good question. It really depends for me. I mean, sometimes I'll write, I feel like this is pretty common, like something happens to you and you're like, oh man, I gotta get this out. And so that's where it'll really come from, like very deep personal experience. But other times too, like I've written quite a few songs actually based on like concerts that I've gone to and how that's affected me. I mean, everybody knows that feeling of being surrounded by like sweaty people at a concert and you're just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, and like the bass is like thumping and you can just like
Yeah.
feel it and you're connected to that artist in that moment and what they're saying. And I've had a lot of experiences like that that have really impacted me. And it was the same thing. It's like I gotta write about this. Like this is an experience I can't forget and I want to really like put it into words how that made me feel and how it was like being surrounded by all those people enjoying that moment together. That's a big one for me. um, there's also like movies that I'll watch or even movie soundtracks. That's something that I'm super, super fascinated by because it's again that like marriage of like storytelling and music. You know, it's like you're watching something on the screen, and if you imagine that with no music at all, it's like, wow, it changes the experience so much. So a lot of the time I'll listen to soundtracks that are like really inspiring to me. I'm like, man, this made me think about this made me think about that. And then I'll try to kind of recreate those things into a song, whether that starts first with like my own instrumentation or if I write based on the things that, you know, that inspired in me. That's another one that's pretty frequent.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think that's like the beauty of classical, I think, as well, the fact that they can storytell with just some notes and chords. It's
Yeah.
just that's just beautiful to me, the fact that they can do something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, but yes, I think that's good though. I think like trying to find inspiration out of everything is important, because if you just find in one spot, your music will get repetitive, or yeah, just like testing your limits is really good. So who are some of your like main influences with music, or like some of the people that inspire you, I guess?
Yeah. Oh man, so many different people inspire me. It's crazy because like I listen to so many genres that, whenever I hear my music, I'm like, okay, it doesn't really sound like them. However, they still inspired the process. They still inspired like my production, things like that. But I mean, one of my big ones for sure is Bon Iver. Bon Iver has been a huge inspiration to me. I started listening to the Bon Iver album in like 2010, 11, like right after it came out. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is incredible. And every time I get in the car, I'd be like, Mom, play this. Like, I got it on CD. I was like, Mom, please play this in the car everywhere we go. That's been a huge one for me. And even whenever I'll sit down and I'll like play guitar by myself, like I still love that sound, like very ambient, really like transports you into be able to like think about things. Cause I mean the thing with Bon Iver is you don't always understand what he's saying in his songs. Like he's so good at creating this atmosphere that still takes you places and somehow you can still feel what he's feeling in these songs. And I think that is so incredible. That's definitely one of my biggest inspirations, I'd say. But I'm also super into like Hayley Williams and like Paramore.
Mm.
Big inspirations for me, definitely. I love like the quirkiness and the passion behind.
Yes, yeah.
Gosh, I don't know, so many.
Yeah, no, true. No, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think, I don't know, with music, I think there is a dangerous point though where you like can get too much too much inspiration from someone, and then you just end up sounding like them, and then it's not you anymore. And like I don't know, where do you think that line, where you cross that line?
Yeah, that is a tricky one for sure. That's something I'm navigating right now because especially with a lot of like the bedroom pop scene or like the alternative like folk rock scene, it's really easy. Like if you don't have like a special spark or a special niche within those genres, especially, I feel like it's super easy to just sound like everybody else. And that's something I come across too. Like I have a song that I just recently kind of like threw together where I had a lot of like guitars going and then I had this nice little like live drum going and I was like, "Man, this sounds really nice." And then I went back and I was like, "There's nothing differentiating about this song. Wait, does this actually sound like me or does this sound like what I was listening to yesterday? I can't decide." So it's definitely tricky. I think it's finding that line of like, I think everybody as an artist, like I actually have this book called Steal Like an Artist. And I mean, everyone takes inspiration from someone. It's impossible to have a completely brand new idea. You know, you're always going to be, whether you're conscious of it or not, going to be taking inspiration from something. And I think the thing that separates that is being able to have like an internal understanding of yourself or what makes you special, what makes you unique, listening to your own voice and not being afraid to bring that out, not being afraid to bring your own ideas out onto the table. That's something that can be really hard to do, especially when you're first starting out and you're like, "Oh, like what is my sound? You know, what do I want to sound like? What do I want to say? What is my voice in this industry?" You know, but I think exploring that is what is key, and then you can take inspiration and to make your sound more whole, but it's going to have that uniqueness that is you. You know, that's something I was talking to my friend about last week. Actually, it was just like what makes you special. Even like Billie Eilish, you know, if you think about Billie Eilish, like what makes her so special in the end is she owns her uniqueness. And she's like, "This is me." You know, even if like, yeah, her music can sound like a lot of other people, but it's what she brings to the table that makes her so unique. And I think that's what it is. Don't be afraid to embrace what you bring, you know? And then
Truth,
you can't sound like anybody else completely because that's you.
truth. Yes, you spin facts. What are some of like the long term goals of music? You think? What do you think you want to bring this brand?
That's what I'm trying to figure out now. I'm gonna graduate next year, and I'm like, oh
Oh
my God,
wow.
what am I gonna do with my life after next year?
Bro, I feel like that's something that people don't think about really. Is like I think when you're in school, you're like, oh, screw school. But once you get out, you learn to appreciate it. You're like, this gave me like the next 4 years of my life at least. Like I know exactly what I'm gonna do and what's gonna happen. So it's like it gives you like that, that like that driving purpose to keep going every day. And it's
Def-
nice to have that schedule as well.
Definitely.
But but yeah, no. But going back to that though, what do you think are some of your goals though so far? What are you thinking
Yeah.
about?
Let's see. So I definitely want to continue with producing and making my own music. That is like one of my main goals right now. One of my favorite things to do though, and it's always been my favorite thing about music, is like the collaborative aspect of it. Um, that's what I've always loved. That's a commonality between all of the different kinds of music that I'm a part of, is working with other people to like to tell a story, to yeah, I really love that. So no matter what I do, I want to be doing that. So I'm looking into film scoring for sure. I want to go into that. I want to be like a studio musician if I can. I'm trying to make some connections in that right now because that's just something that I'm super passionate about aside from, you know, singing in my own music that I make. Um, and but yeah, pretty much any opportunity I have to collaborate, I'm gonna do. I'm working with some jazz musicians currently to like make some tracks, which is super exciting. And that's kind of my goal right now. I'm still learning about myself at this point. I'm still young. I'm still figuring out like what my, you know, if I have a niche, like what that is. Because I'm definitely in that point where I love so many things. I'm passionate about so many things within music. And I'm like, all right, what's the commonality here? How can I piece all these different things together to like make my own thing?
Yeah.
You know,
No,
but right
that's
now I'm just trying to get into as many underground music scenes as possible just to get experience, to get practice, to meet people. That's just what I love doing. And within that, I can get better at the instruments that I play. I can get better with my singing, with my improvisation. And I'm just going to kind of see what doors open from there because that's kind of how it is in this industry sometimes. You just follow the breadcrumbs until you land on something and you're like, "Oh, this is it."
Yes, that's very true. I don't know. I think I can appreciate that about you that you seem like you're not in any rush. You're not in any rush to get anywhere. But I think that's a good thing because I think everybody, I don't know, when you see these like young ass kids that are just making it big nowadays, it's like kind of hurts the soul a little bit when you're like 19, 20 and you're like, damn, like I am not there, but they are already there. And I don't know, it definitely hurts a little bit, but I think like I know your time will come, I think, and it's just you have to just keep pursuing. And if anything, like those people that are popping right now when they're young, they'll probably go away soon, but it's like the long term success will come
Mhm.
with just,
Yeah.
like slowly building that fan base. And yeah, no, that's I'm glad that you're not in any rush because I feel like that's kind of refreshing to hear. 'Cause I think everybody was like, oh, I want to get a Grammy, I want to do this, I want to do that. But I think yeah, like getting just like the short term goals will
Mhm.
slowly build you up to like next thing you know, you're performing at like a 20,000 show concert or something like that, you know?
That's the hope.
Yeah, so no, that's really good. That's nice. All right, I got a little like some just like random questions about your music taste. If you could only listen to one album the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Oh, this question is so difficult. Oh my word. Let's see. Well, definitely the one that I mentioned earlier, Bonnie Bear, Bonnie Bear. That is the one where no matter where I am in life, how old I am, I can go back, I can listen to it straight through and then want to repeat and listen to it straight through again. I love, I love that. Also, there's this band that I've been obsessed with called Underscores, kind of like a hyper pop.
Ooh, I feel like I've heard of them.
Yeah,
I like them.
Underscores is fire. And I mean, I know like one album for the rest of your life is like pretty high status, but as of where I'm at right now, I would listen to that on repeat all day. So-
That's tight. No, that's what do you think the most underrated album of all time is?
Oh my word. Dang. That's a tricky one. Hmm. I feel like I'm gonna have to come back to that question because I gotta
Okay.
think. That's a good one.
Hmm. I gotta think about. Cause I think it seems like you're definitely you kind of know what you want to do for the next like couple of years. Just kind of like put your fingerprint and everything and try to just try to figure out what you want to do. Um, what do you use to produce with? Do you use like what DAW?
Yeah, I use Ableton.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah.
Dang, that's
Just
not.
garage
I use
really
FL
well.
Studio, but uh, and Ableton. I hear like good things about Ableton. Do you like it?
I do. Whenever I first started, I definitely was overwhelmed because it looked very like
Scary.
it. I don't know. To me, it looked very like computer sciencey.
Oh, yeah,
I
true.
was like, what is all of this? Everything is gray. I don't know what to do. But no, once you find your way around, it's actually super efficient, especially in terms of like being able to flip things, like sampling is super,
Mm.
super easy on Ableton, and being able to just like manipulate sound. I really like how you can manipulate sound within Ableton and kind of like experiment. I think it's great for like experimental stuff. Super cool. So I
No,
like it. It's grown on me.
agreed. Yeah, no, I think that's something that scares me nowadays though, like the experimental side. I think there's always gonna be people experimenting, but a lot of people that I'm around, I guess, I see a lot of people just kind of doing what like everyone else is doing. It's like that, just following trends. And I don't know. I think that's a lot on TikTok too. A lot of people on TikTok are on that like just trend following. And I don't know. I don't like it because it just I think people take it takes away from the content or it takes away from like the artistry. It's like, oh, you just follow this trend. But I mean, but you are putting your own spin on it, I think. So I don't know. Do you use TikTok much to like promote anything or?
Once like really get this EP rolling is when I have a bunch of content that I've made that I'm gonna start just like spitfiring onto TikTok because that platform, incredible, changing the game for so many like independent artists. I mean, we have access now in a way that I mean, nobody else has as an independent in the past. I think it's super, super neat. So I'm definitely going to be utilizing that. I have TikTok and I've just been posting like singing stuff, like duetting people, things like that. But I'm really, this year is one of my big goals of taking it seriously. Going to be using it a lot. Yeah.
Yes, very true. Cause yeah, no, it's scary what it can do almost. Like it can do a lot for a career. It can yeah, you can be put on like this. Just need to get,
Exactly.
which is I don't know. I think it's a good thing though. I think it's a good thing. But it also shows you how many people are also trying to do this. I think you see a lot of, and I don't know. It kind of scares me a little bit. It just like it kind of hurts the ego. You're like, damn, this dude is way more talented than me,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
have and they have less followers too. So it's like, oof, yeah, that's not good.
So
I don't
true.
know. But yeah, no, I think yeah, definitely use TikTok because that will. I think I could tell like you. I think people on TikTok would like your music too. So
Mhm.
I'm sure you'd have a lot of success on that. So you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um. What do you think? Like, do you plan on being independent for a while, or what's your idea with that? Like being independent, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's so much value in being an independent just because of kind of like what we were talking about just now, the platforms that we have available to us now, to where it's really there's a lot of value in marketing yourself right now. If you have the vision and you have the drive, like you really can do it. Um, so I think there's a lot of value in that, and I personally plan on staying independent for a while. I've been looking into like getting agents and things like that, just because I think the one thing that can be difficult whenever you're managing yourself is making connections by yourself. It's a lot to handle. You are DMing this person, DMing that person, keeping up with like 8 different social media platforms, trying to make all the marketing, all the promo yourself. It's so much to keep up, and that's why I have such huge respect for like these young kids in the industry right now. I'm like, wow, you are putting the work in, using so many different talents to make this thing happen. Um, but yeah, definitely looking into an agent just for that because, connections are the name of the game, really. Connections and then platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. But I think it's a great time to be an independent right now, or even, get plugged into organizations who help independence, but you still are able to keep that creative control, in terms of your direction and what you're wanting to do. So you're not like signing yourself up for too much. I think that's another great option also. But
True. Yeah, I think agents are a good idea because I think yeah, doing all everything alone is pretty tough. Especially, I don't know. I was gonna ask how do you think you like you're balancing skill between like college, doing your college work and stuff. I guess you're doing like a music major, right? So it's like it kind of is involved, right?
yeah, it is. That's something that's really funny actually in my experience is that like technically, yeah, like my degree is music, I'm getting a bachelor of music, but what is funny is the new challenge of juggling all the music.
Mm, I see.
There's so much music, like I'm accompanying a violinist here, I'm accompanying a vocalist here, I'm learning all this music for this. I have to learn my own repertoire for, that semester to get a grade. I have to
Yeah.
like be doing all these different kinds of things. And it's actually really difficult to juggle, especially because sometimes you can just get really creatively drained really fast because you're plugging into so many different outlets, and that's something that is definitely a struggle for me sometimes, coming back home after a long day of, rehearsing with this person, practicing for this many hours, doing this, doing that. And then I'm like, all right, now I gotta really dig deep and I gotta write something. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, like having the space for that at the end of the day can be really tricky sometimes. And, doing what you love and also doing it for school is also what's really tricky too, because, you know, the thing you love is also the thing that's really stressing you out. And the
Yeah.
thing you love is also like you're accountable to so many different people in like a music school for it. And sometimes it doesn't feel like your own anymore. Um, so it's a very like interesting set of struggles, I think, that comes along with that. But like I said, ultimately I'm like really thankful for that experience because even though it can be a lot to handle, it is really pushing me. as an artist and as an instrumentalist to really dig deep and get good, and being able to juggle a lot of different things at once. It's great practice for that.
Definitely, I'm sure. Yeah, that sounds like a lot, but yeah, I think it's like there's like beauty in the struggle. So it's like I think it will all be worth it. It will all be worth it. You'll probably be, and it's like once you get like during the summer, I guess you kind of now you have a little time. I'm sure you're just focusing on the like your personal music. So I'm sure that's nice.
Yeah.
All right, so I got two more things for you, and then we can wrap this up. The first thing is just want to know your like what do you think, you know, in this like very saturated music playing currently, like what makes you unique in this music industry?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think something that we touched on earlier, like connection, I think. And connection not only, you know, with myself and not being afraid to be vulnerable with my music and with my listeners and with, you know, whoever I'm collaborating with at that time. You know, that's something that it's always been very important to me, is, you know, being vulnerable with how I feel, even if it's, you know, really difficult to talk about, or even if it's something that's not talked about very often. You know, someone else may be experiencing those same things, you know, and being able to kind of like have that connection and that camaraderie between, you know, an artist and a listener, I think is really valuable. And those are the people that, you know, inspire me the most, or that I feel the most connected to, are people who aren't afraid to share themselves, you know. And I think that is one of my strengths too, is being able to really share myself with others and invite them into, you know, an experience where you can feel connected, and you can, yeah, that whole part of like culture and telling stories. You know, if I'm gonna put myself out there and tell my story, be like, all right, this is what's going on, man. You know, my hope is that it would inspire other people to also be able to step out and be vulnerable, be like, you know, yeah, like I relate to this, or I want to take this experience and I want to tell my own story, or, you know, things like that. That's why I love working with people too, because you just get to watch that process unfold of like, all right, I'm sharing, and now I'm sharing, and now we're coming together and we're making this thing that is like so incredible, and we've all like put pieces of ourselves into it, you know. So I think that's something I always try to facilitate as an artist.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to promote to the people that are watching this?
Man, I just say follow on Spotify, follow on Instagram, Abigail Arkley, because I'm gonna have a lot of things coming out over this summer, a lot of new music. So just watch out for that.
Yes, go follow her on everything. Go support her. Thank you so much, Abigail. This was a nice conversation. It was really fun. And believe in gravity. All right. Thank you. Hey, that was fun. Yes, sir.